I've been on a real theme kick with the D&D builds I've been doing recently, and this one's no different, although I am planning on just checking out some of the cool subclasses from here on and seeing what they can do as well. This time around, the theme here is getting as many sneak attacks in as possible, basically. And I know that this is doable in a few different ways, including readying your action and things like that, but I think I found a better way to do it thanks to the third-party content that's out. And this involves two things from Grim Hollow and a few feats from other things as well. The result is a rogue which can actually sneak attack 3 times on the first turn and 2 times every turn reliably with no issues whatsoever from then on. And this does not eat your bonus action. It does eat a reaction, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's go through it, shall we? So, this is Monsieur Pew Pew. I don't know why that's the name. I've been talking to too many French people. I blame Trek and Val. Here we are. Anyway, we are going GIF for this because they have Firearms Mastery, which allows them to ignore the loading property, which is important. It also lets you do a little bit of extra damage equal to your proficiency bonus. Which I have not included, which I haven't actually included in any of the calculations, because if you're kind of using all of this on turn 1, you can use this theoretically to get you over the finish line, but it's not a necessary part of it, so I've not considered it as a result. We are going farmer with the background, well, criminal, sorry, with the background. We're going criminal with the background for alert because we want to be going first as much as possible. Not for any mechanical reason other than if we attack something, it could die, and that's good. Our stat spread is a little bit odd, I will admit. There's probably a way to optimize this better than I have done, but I'm perfectly happy with it as it goes. We are putting an 8 in strength, a 15 in dex, 15 in con, 13 in intelligence, 10 in wisdom, 10 in charisma. We don't need our constitution to be that high, realistically. We can probably bump our intelligence up if you wanted to, but I like having extra health, and it is relevant because of something we could be doing later on. Now for the class, this is a rogue build, and that means we'll be starting with, and I feel like Colby, but we'll be starting with a monster hunter. I'm aware that Colby starts most of his builds with fighters, and that's kind of a long-running joke. I think I might end up doing the same, but with monster hunter for a lot of these builds, because as it turns out, the class is pretty strong. The traits are whatever you want, the grimoire is whatever you want. The weapon mastery is not whatever you want. We are going to take 2 of the Grim Hollow weapon masteries, the most important of which being the black powder pistol. You can take whichever one you want as the second. I went for the black powder rifle just because, but it's entirely up to you. What I do like about this is, despite being a rogue, our AC can be pretty high, because we can hold a shield in our second hand. I know we're not a rogue yet, but with studded leather, our dexterity, and the shield, our AC can be 17, which is not bad at all at level 1. At level 1 as well, our damage is just, assuming you have the black powder pistol, it's 2d4 plus 3. So you can add your proficiency bonus to that once as well, so you can do an extra 2 damage theoretically. That's nice to do. It's just 8 damage, which is fine for level 1, right? Level 2, we are also taking Monster Hunter. This is where things immediately start to get a little bit chaotic. I want to go with the fighting style choice here, because it's relevant. I think there are arguments for 2 fighting styles, primarily. Well, 3, I guess. Close Combat Artillerist is a really good choice if your aim is to be as close to enemies as possible, because it removes the disadvantage on your attack, which is great, and it also gives you a +2 damage to your damage rolls, a +2 bonus to your damage rolls when you hit with an attack within 5 feet of you. This is cool. We don't have to play this class like that, though. The other tempting option that I didn't go for is Opportunist. Opportunist gives you a +2 to both your attack roll and your damage roll when you attack using your reaction, which this will be doing a lot because of studied response. I'll go into that in a second. I just want to finish this bit off first. What I went for instead was Archery, which is not very exciting, but it turns out hitting things is really, really good. And it's even gooder on a rogue because you really don't want to miss with your attacks with a rogue. You've got very little follow-up. If you miss, that's it, no damage, right? So the Vex Mastery is going to help on that front with the pistol. It's also going to help that we've got the +2 bonus here. It is worth noting regarding the weapon, technically you can't use the black powder pistol yet. I just hear my cat being completely nuts. Technically you can't use the black powder pistol yet. You could use a normal pistol if you wanted to, or something else. But I'm basing it on the black powder pistol because we're going to be getting access to it at level 5, as you'll see. It's just worth noting. There are other weapons you can use. I'm just trying to keep my brain intact. The Parligun. Nope, not Parligun. There are a bunch of other firearms from Valdaspire Secrets which do 2d4, although you cannot add your damage modifier to them. You could also just take a crossbow. Anything you want as long as it's ranged, basically. Anyway, the other thing we get at level 2, and this is the important thing is studied response. This lets us take our reaction to attack a creature within 60 feet of ourselves that targets yourself or anyone else with a melee or ranged attack. You get to do this before they actually attack, it's just when they target, which means that potentially you can finish that enemy off before they get to do anything. You'll also note that this means you're taking an attack that isn't on your turn, and that means we can add sneak attack to it, but we don't have sneak attack yet. Oh man. Thankfully, level 3 sees the end of our Monster Hunter journey and our first foray into the rogue world, which means that we do get sneak attack, albeit just 1d6 for now. We once again get 2 weapon masteries here. I would actually suggest taking dagger, I think, as Nick, because technically you can do that after you've attacked with the black powder pistol, because the black powder pistol is light, which means that you can then throw a dagger, theoretically, or just hit someone with it. So it's there in a pinch, which is useful, although it's not something we're going to build around particularly. At level 2, our damage was 18, because we were just doubling the 8 that we previously. At level 3, our damage goes up to 23, because of the 1d6 sneak attack. That is a fairly decent boost already, and obviously that's split between 2 attacks. Level 4 means we are going to be a rogue 2, and it means we get cunning action, which is fine because we don't actually do much with our bonus action here because we're already ignoring the loading property because we're a GIF. So this gives you a good chance to disengage and just generally stay away from opponents, which is useful all the time. Level 3, we get a lot. At level 3 we get an additional d6 of sneak damage, which is nice. It means that each attack we do at this point is now 2d4 plus 2d6 plus 3, which is pretty good. It averages out at 15, and we're doing 2 of those without choosing a subclass. We are going to choose a subclass, though. So 2 of those are every single turn, which is great. One of those is going to be as soon as we roll initiative, because we are going to be... Highway Rider gives us a lot of cool stuff. It gives us ride them down. You don't need advantage on attack roll to sneak attack. If you or a controlled mount you move needs... You don't need advantage on the attack roll to sneak attack if you or a controlled mount you ride moves at least 20 feet and you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. This lets you sneak attack so consistently. Because of that, we get to trusty mount, which gives us the Find Steed spell, which we get to do once per long rest for free, which is fantastic. And means we have a huge movement speed of 60 feet. It can also dodge and disengage on your behalf, which is great. And because you can choose its form as Fey, Fiend, or Celestial, you can have it be able to teleport, heal, or frighten in a pinch. Teleport is really tempting here, but I also think heal is probably useful as well. But it's very much pick your favourite. The reason we're making an attack when we roll initiative, though, is because of Hair Trigger. So this gives us proficiency with black powder pistols, as I said, we'd get them. And in addition, when you roll initiative and you don't have disadvantage on the roll, which you're generally not going to have, you can immediately take your reaction for one of the following options. You get to make one attack with a weapon or unarmed strike, that's the one we're going to be doing. You get to move up to your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. There are niche cases in which that's going to be really useful. A controlled mount does that, also again quite useful. Or you can take the dodge with the utilize action. You could slam a door or use a magic item. Obviously we're going to be making an attack here. This means that we're not going to have our reaction until our turn, but that's fine because we can still do all of this in the first round. This does give us basically 3 sneak attack chances and hopefully hits in the first round, which means that our damage goes from 23 all the way to 45. Which is a big old leap. It's a big old leap. And that's because A, we're getting a 3rd attack, and B, our sneak attack damage has gone up by 1d6. So our average damage, as I said, is 15 now, so we're doing 3 of those. So that's good stuff. We are sticking with Rogue for the rest of the build, by the way. At level 6, we will be a Rogue 4. And there are some really interesting options here when it comes to what you could choose. Sharpshooter is a perfectly reasonable option and is something that we will be taking later on build. But I want to play into our theme a bit more, and would you look at that, mounted combatant lets us do that really well. We're obviously going to be boosting our dex, so we're going to go up to 18 dex here, which is a nice 1 point of damage extra, and then on 3 attacks as well, so that's good. That's the only damage boost we get at this level, so you're up to 48 in total, which is decent. Along with that, it gives you advantage on any creature smaller than your mount, as long as you're within 5 feet of them. Not that we ever really want to be that close to an enemy, but it's worth noting. You can also, basically, your mount gets evasion, which is good, because you haven't got it yet. And you can also force any attacks that would hit your mount to hit you instead, which is why we took the stronger con earlier on. So that's all good stuff. Level 7, we are a level 5 rogue. We get cunning strikes, which do stuff, but I'm not interested in that for the purposes of this build. And we get uncanny dodge, which means you can use our reaction to, it doesn't matter, because we're using our reaction to attack. What does matter is that we get an additional d6 on our sneak attack, which means that our damage jumps up to 58.5. which is pretty solid. Level 6, we get expertise in 2 things. You can take whatever you want. You've got a lot of expertise at this point. You're very good at skills. Congratulations. No damage boost. At Rogue 7, this is where the build is really strong because you get evasion, which is fantastic. You get reliable talent, which is also fantastic. And more importantly, our damage is now 69. Because our sneak attack went up again. That's wonderful. Yes, I am a child. I can't help it. Level 8, we get another ASI. We are going to take Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter not only lets us attack from further away because of the full range of the black powder pistol, but also means that if we are in melee, we can maintain advantage on our strikes completely. Yes, we get that to a degree with our thing, but basically it means that you don't have disadvantage on it, so you can still sneak it. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Sneak attack and disadvantage and advantage can both exist simultaneously because God is dead and there is no me. I mean, because that's how the rules work. So yeah, that's that. Level 11 brings us to a level 9 rogue. Oh, it also bumps our dex to 19. I meant to say that. The last one. Level 9 rogue gives us Horse Lord, which lets us give our horse some temp health equal to twice our rogue level, which is pretty cool. And the mount can also take the dash, disengage, or dodge action as a bonus action. Technically, that means you can have your horse disengage and also dodge, making both of you harder to hit, or you can dash and you can run away. The options are a lot. There's lots of them. Your movement is kind of absurd with this build. Along with that, our damage goes up again by 1d6 per sneak attack, which means that our damage is now up to 79.5, which is very respectable, I think. And then, as I do like to end a lot of these builds at level 12, or when they're like feature complete, which is when this is feature complete in my opinion, we are going to take our final dex based feat in focused critical. This doubles our chance to crit, basically, which, because we're attacking 3 times, is a pretty notable improvement. So not only does this bump our dex up to 20, which means we've got a +5 instead of a +4 on our attacks, but it also means we have a 47% chance to crit across those 3 attacks in that first turn. And if you've played a rogue, critting with a rogue feels fantastic. So that's all good stuff. Our damage ends 82.5 at this point in the build. This is at level 12, remember? And we are close to a lot of things from this point. If you wanted to continue playing this build, I do think my first instinct would be to continue with rogue, but there's a very good argument for continuing with Monster Hunter too. At level 3, we do get access to... So that's where the build ends, technically, but let's, do it on the fly. If at level 13 we take Monster Hunter 3, we get a subclass. The only thing I would say is that none of the Monster Hunter subclasses feel like they fit this as well as I'd like them to, whereas additional levels in Rogue means we get more sneak attack damage, which is certainly the simpler option, and it might be the more interesting one. The Carver Guild is focused on melee weapons, which is not what we're doing. The Devourer Guild is all about eating monsters, and it does give us some interesting potential effects, which I don't dislike at all. And they add a lot of utility, which is nice, but I don't know if that's what I want. The Occultist Guild is the spell casting one. As it stands, our intelligence is 13, and obviously at next level we get another ASI, so we can bump that to 14, but that's not great. If we're going to be doing anything that deals damage, we could certainly take prestidigitation and stuff. But generally speaking, I think a lot of the options here just aren't going to do enough for us. Although you can pick up shield. Maybe that's a good enough argument in and of itself. And then the Trapper Guild is probably the best choice here. It gives you the chance to make some gadgets. Elemental ammunition is probably the one I would go here. Let's use a bonus action to basically add a 2d6 of damage to an attack once per long rest, basically. Or you can make a couple of those and then you can do it a couple times. The extra 2d6 is certainly nice, but it's not consistent. The Trapper one does offer some interesting things. All monster hunters get to add their intelligence modifier to attack and damage rolls, which at this point would be an additional +3 to both, which means that even without anything else, that's an extra 9 damage, which puts us up to 91.5, which is pretty cool. That easily pushes us into the realm of 100 by level 16, which is not bad. You also get Ambusher's Advantage at level 7, which is level 18, so we're pretty far into it, but you get to add your intelligence modifier to your initiative rolls as well, which means you're almost definitely going to be going first at this. And then obviously you could take another ASI, which would be an epic boon at that point because you're level 19, if that's how you play that. And then you could take a final level in Rogue, theoretically. There's also arguments for taking maybe a level in Ranger, because that way you get... That actually might be the right choice. How upsetting is that? I don't think we have enough wisdom to Ranger, right? We do not have, and prohibited by Rogue. Oh, there we go. We don't have enough wisdom to multi-class into Ranger. Fighter is always a choice that you can make. Hard to argue with it. You could also go Gunslinger, because the Gunslinger has some fun stuff as well. I'm not building at this point, as you can tell, but the Gunslinger gives us another fighting style, so we could pick up Close Combat, Artillerist, or Opportunist or something and bolster ourselves that way. It also gives us another weapon mastery. Gives us an advantage on our initiative rolls, which is absolutely fantastic. And if we went to level 2, you also get the chance to crit even easier, which is certainly tempting. So I actually would be tempted, instead of going Monster Hunter, to go Gunslinger, because it's fun, and then you're really smashing together some classes. But you could also just stick with Rogue, like I said, for the sneak attack damage, or go for your preferred Monster Hunter class as well. If you wanted to shore up your stats a bit, you could definitely put a 15 in intelligence, instead of kind of doing the more balanced stat spread that I did. You could even go to a 16 if you didn't mind your con being down at 14, which is obviously no harm of really if you're not getting hit, but then it makes you a little bit squishier if you're directing attacks to yourself from your mount, is my main concern there, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, that's that. You're not going to see it. I spent a good 20 minutes there just reading stuff to figure out what I would do after level 12. But yes, that is that. I really like this build. This is actually probably the build I'll use if my character in one of the campaigns I'm playing kicks the bucket, because I really like the concept. It's a lot of fun from a roleplay perspective. You get a horse, which is great, or you get mount. It could be anything, right? I just like it a lot. And if you're joining a campaign at a later level and you get to have all of that at once, you also don't have to go GIF, because you could take one of the other feats that let you ignore the loading property, which is cool. Anyway, that is that. If you enjoyed that, do like and subscribe. I do reviews. This is a great chance to do the introduction at the end of the video. Yeah, plonker. Anyway, I do a bunch of stuff. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.